Are we gonna do the hey Gal Gadot? His podcast is for Gal Gadot.
Just to go from the most inclusive intro possible to the most specific. But guess what? Hey, gals, guys, and otherwise, I'm Jonathan O'Roseland.
And I'm Noah, also known as Polyphonic. And you're listening to Saga. Nope, you're listening to Horns and Wings.
Oh.
The podcast where we pretend to talk about Saga, and on some rare occasions, like this very occasion, this very day, fine listener, we actually talk about Saga. What are we talking about this week, John?
Ooh, let's jump in. We're talking about this great anthology series called the classic literature. I mean, what's the furthest thing from Saga? It's not classic literature. Hey, what are we doing? Where are we? 31? Jesus Christ.
I think the furthest thing from Saga is old episodes of Celebrity Apprentice. I've decided.
Or new episodes, which is what I call the
life.
news.
Yeah. We're kicking off a new arc. Do we want to give a quick refresher as to where we left off? Because it's been a minute since we wrapped up that arc.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, yeah. Well, Alana and Marco finally reunited.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody died.
Mm-hmm.
Prince Robot killed Dango.
Mm-hmm.
And then Hazel and Clara were stolen away by the Last Revolution people.
Uh-huh.
And
who's left of the Last Revolution now? Who are the surviving members?
Superhero lady and dude
Lexus.
who's Isabel's species.
Ziz.
Yes.
Perfect.
Oh, and then also Gwendolyn and Sophie woke up the Will, and he was devastated by that. And then we panned forward and had a time jump and cut to a toddler, like child, even maybe. Hazel in a school.
A toddler and a child?
Well, I don't know what's the threshold between toddler and child? Is it when they stop toddling?
Yes. And they start tattling. It's been a long time since we did one of these, Noah. Noah, what are we? Well, I'll cover this one. You did such a good job on the recap.
You'll cover this one? You'll cover
I take it back. I don't want to cover this one anymore. We have a cool cover. It's a cool cover, and I like it. We see the praying mantis teacher that we were briefly introduced to at the end of the last arc, and she's teaching who I assume is Hazel, with these cool sort of floating blackboard TV things, maps, and we are in a very sort of like
brutalist
70s, like 70s sci-fi
Soviet,
like just a lot of harsh straight lines. It's a cement giant room. It looks like the abstract art section of every museum ever.
Yes, it does. It's really interesting. I'm so used to like really cool close-up character shots on Saga covers. That's kind of like, if you think of like a stereotypical Saga cover, it's very jarring to see one with so much open space, especially in my anthology where I don't have the text, where it's just the photo. It is empty.
Yeah. That's like, I feel like this is the most like traditionally sci-fi we've gotten, like just pure, like you could see this and you could almost assume it's like pure sci-fi and not the fantasy half of the book, which I dig.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Is a cool one.
Yeah. Should we open her up and see what's inside?
Oh, I guess.
All right. So I'm gonna take this one.
Open her up now.
So we open on shots of horned children displaying their crayon artwork. Each of them shows a horrible, tragic experience. Like a house being, well, on my notes it actually says a hose being blown up, but a house being blown up.
Oh my god. That's tragic.
The child who looks like Gus from Sweet Tooth.
I knew.
If you were wondering how long it would take me to point it would be at the first moment possible. Only has one arm, and he drew his arm that got cut off. And the last panel is Hazel, who introduces her art as, "This is Tootie Stinkfoot. He is a giant footman who has very bad gas." So it's a portrait of John.
I'm more of a hand man. No, I'm very much a foot man.
Her peers laugh at her, or laugh with her, I guess. And the mantis teacher lady reminds Hazel that the assignment was to draw something that made her feel sad. The teacher sends the other kids away, but holds Hazel back and tells her that she can talk to the teacher about anything. She pulls a book from her bag and gives it to Hazel. The book is Leave Me Be, which is a book that Hazel read from at Heist's Lighthouse.
Yeah,
Excuse
this
me.
is the highest form of art.
Yeah, exactly. With the odendron, crazy, scary
the
thing.
rhododendron.
Yes. And upon seeing that, Hazel begins to cry, and we get some THN saying, "Believe it or not, those were the first tears I'd shed in years."
Yeah, they're throwing us right into it. We don't get to know what happened in any of the other. We are just committed to this time jump for right now.
Every one of the time jumps, as Hazel's personality has developed more, it's just like I believe it so much, and it's just like so authentic to like who she's shown to be in the narration, and like who her parents are. Like I don't know. I love her characterization, and I really love that we're gonna get to see her now as like something that can actually like talk and speak and interact with the world. I think that's a really exciting promise of this arc.
Yeah, I also like that, like, Brian K. Vaughan started writing this book when he first had a baby, and so he's consistently with these time jumps, like, kind of kept up with around the same age as his kid, and I'm sure that adds a certain authenticity. That's also a word. To the personality.
Oh, I should also add that I forgot to mention that Hazel said, when the teacher said the assignment was to do something sad, Hazel's justification was, "Nothing makes me sadder than how bad Tootie's toots smell." Comedic genius, really.
This is the most relatable thing in this entire comic is hiding horrific, traumatizing memories with comedy.
With fart jokes. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, I think it's interesting too. Just kind of in this scene, we already get kind of like a really good sense of what this prison is like. We see a panel with kind of the guards always watching, but we see that the teacher genuinely cares about her students and genuinely wants them to thrive. Like, I feel like we already in this scene have kind of a clear picture of this like prison school class.
Yeah, I also love the little touches, like the those classic mats, those like foam mats you put on the ground that like interlock, like puzzly things that the kids are sitting on.
Yeah.
That brings me back. We have some blue text here.
Yes.
That should be translated.
We have several. On the first we have a page. I didn't mention this kid. His drawing is of a horned person, and he says, "Mia panjo, mi volas mia mia panyo, mi volas mia panyo." Is that like my friend? I miss my friend.
It is,
or I drew my friend.
It is my mom. I want my mom. So much more tragic.
Yeah, well, I was just curious because I was reading like the Panjo, and I know Esperanto is like a mixture of languages, and Pangyo is friend in Mandarin, but I don't know if there's any Mandarin in Esperanto.
The second one is settle down, bonvolu, which is please, as we've established.
And I'm gonna guess attendu momenton is wait a moment.
Wait a minute.
Okay. Is that all? That's all our blue for now, eh?
Yeah, there's a lot of blue in this issue, though.
Yes. There's a lot of blue. Going forward, there's a lot of blue for a while. Spoiler alert. Sorry. 4-star review. Sorry.
Never the most spiteful shit that will never go away. No, this is, but it's Saga, so it's always blue, because of all the boobs and stuff and the bad language.
Oh,
Noah.
Oh, like you're saying blue, like you're like a
They go
1940s news producer.
Look, no. The kids still say
the kids go to the blue pictures and see dim titties.
A classic 1940s quote.
You see?
Okay. Now that we're back, now that we've hit our stride again,
It's like we never left. It's really.
it's like we should have left.
We're smooth as butter.
So with this next scene, my explanation goes on a little long, so we might stop halfway through if we want to talk about stuff.
I think we can break it up halfway through.
All right. Scene number 2. We flash back to when the 2 surviving Last Revolution members, who was that again? Ziz and Lexus.
Yes.
Plus Hazel and Clara in the astronomical hoof. I went both ways at once on that one. Hoof. That just hopscotched outside of the ice planet's atmosphere. So we've gone back in time to where we left off. Hazel's sobbing because she just lost another one of her parents. Ziz picks up Quain's rock candy mace, I guess, and it tells Clara to tell the mongrel to shut her fat face, which is very mean and is a good way to tell us who the bad guys are.
I think that's racist.
Yeah, and which I don't know how. I feel like it's hard to be. Is it harder or easier to be a racist against a child who is 2 different species?
It seems to be pretty easy for him, so.
Okay. So Clara attempts one of her signature Clara comebacks, but she can only speak blue thanks to them warping too far away from Alana's translation ring. Before we can figure out what she's trying to say, the hoof is suddenly face to face, cockpit to cockpit. What's the front of a ship?
Yeah. Well, is it even
hoof,
the front?
It's suddenly
It's
suddenly
to ship.
hoof to speaker drill bit robot ship. The ship that shot down Marco and company. And then those 2 old school computer monitor robots who had different dialogue from each other. I feel like we should double check their dialogue again.
Yeah.
To make sure. But they spot the ship and quickly realize that they could make up for losing Prince Robot by bagging a few Last Revolution terrorists. And Ziz decides he's going to go out fighting and get them all killed in the process, but before he can, the robot ship disables the hoof with this big taser beam. The blast knocks everyone to the ground. Clara and Ziz crawl desperately to reach the dropped crystal mace, and Lexus tells Hazel not to watch what's about to happen. And then Hazel's narration kicks in with, over the years, Auntie Lexus, or Auntie if you want, would become very protective of me, which was sweet but rarely necessary. I'd pretty much seen it all before. And with that line, we get the splash page of...
what a good splash.
Hazel getting just an eyeful of Clara caving in Ziz's head with the crystal mace.
This issue is Splash City. There are so many splashes in this issue.
How do like ears and stuff just come on? I feel like every head just pops no matter what happens. Like it's just nothing sticks together.
Yeah, everyone dies in the most gory way possible in this universe.
There's a very Mr. Potato Head anatomy to all of these people that I don't appreciate. And then, meanwhile, the robots have nearly cut their way into the ship, and Clara, realizing that they're gonna be tortured if they find out who they really are, Clara throws down her weapon and says in broken actual language, not in blue, then best we becoming something else. And so she has a plan for getting through all this. And let's pause there for a second because we switch gears a little bit there. So just to clarify some of the blue, we have her in response to tell the mongrel to shut her fat face. We get, "Where the hell did you take us?" And then her realizing, she says, "Wait, why am I talking?" And then gets cut off, which again is portrayed very well with her grabbing her throat and looking confused. So,
yeah, that's good acting.
You don't need it.
I think a neat thing here is the little parallel between like Hazel looking at the crack in the window and the like planet exploding thing on one of the computer's monitor screens.
Mm-hmm. I think that's the crack in the monitor. That was the thing that.
Oh yeah. You're right. Yeah.
Did Dango shoot it? I think Dango shot it. But yeah, I didn't realize that. That's just like 1-to-1 pretty much.
Yeah, just a neat little piece of visual symmetry.
I feel like we've seen that monitor face before.
We definitely have. I forget where we saw it, but we definitely have seen that before.
I feel like it might have been in reference to King Robot also, like being a scary person.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
I don't know. We should look into that. Let us know in the comments if you remember where else whatever it is, like a moon colliding with a planet sort of thing happening there. But yeah, I like that one a lot. God, I love the 8-bit screens.
Yeah, the 8-bit screens are amazing. I'm also a big fan of the lettering on this BWAM when the ray hits. It's an Inception BWAM in my head.
Yeah, no, that, and I like how it matches the beam really well. I don't remember who did it. There's one artist that used to do the thing, like making the sound would be in the shape of the sound. So like in this, like these lines would actually spell out bomb.
That's really cool.
I don't remember who, but yeah. But I guess this is cool too. I guess this looks okay.
Yeah.
I love that it just looks like a waveform too.
Yeah.
That's such an interesting sort of weapon effect that I like a lot.
You really get a sense of how big this robot ship is when you see the like beam going around the hoof in that in that next page. This like boombox ship is huge.
Yeah, that's actually a really cool way to actually compare scale, because when we see it, like we see that it's clearly smaller than it the first time we see the ship in front of the other ship, but we don't know how far away it is from that ship or how close the hoof is to us or anything. So that's kind of like a cool, almost like just a roller to judge how much bigger this ship is.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's a tough thing doing scale in space, especially in comics. I feel like it's easier to do on film when you can kind of see the models from different angles and stuff, but it's really hard to do scale in space when you don't have anything to like kind of compare it to.
Yeah, because like if if you see things moving, then it's a bit easier to see like, okay, that's moving slowly and that's moving quicker, so it's safe to assume that the quicker thing is closer than the slow thing, etc. So yeah, that's hard to compensate for comics, and that's a really cool way to do it.
Yeah, and then we jump to what probably could have been a scene jump for me, but I messed up in my summaries and didn't want to rewrite my first one. So that's why we're doing this weird thing. Little peek behind the curtain for you all there.
Ooh, save that for the Patreon.
We're very professional about this show.
So we cut to we are now on a planet. I actually have this written down. I don't know. I'm not reading the thing that I wrote out.
We're on a planet, John, obviously.
They don't know. They're listening to Saga, Noah. They're not listening to Hordes of Wings. They have to know. So cut to a concrete prison raised like 200 feet off the ground on these massive like pillar stilts, I guess. Hazel's narration explains Stillers. The Bens is what I call them.
Yeah. Ben and
Hazel's. Nope.
Ben and
that's
Jerry.
the end of the joke. Nope. Stop it there. Tom and Jerry. Please stop. Hazel's narration. It's weird. I had all of that written down. Thank you for reading the script with me. Hazel's narration explains that they claim to be aboard the rebel ship as slave laborers. That's what they're called in the 40s.
This is a real train wreck.
Every time you say that, that means it's a great episode, so I'm pumped.
Yeah, people really do enjoy watching us fail.
It's one of my favorite things. So they were assigned to an enemy non-combatant prison. A wing guard is about to strip search them when a pig doctor, which I guess I should clarify, it is a doctor who is a pig. It's not a doctor for pigs.
Yeah. We've seen other pig... Have we seen a pig doctor before? No, we saw a bear doctor. A bear nurse. That's what
a bear
I'm
nurse,
of.
yeah, with the will. Yeah. But... Yeah, so a pig doctor walks in saying that these prisoners can't be treated like this. The guard pushes back on this, but the doctor explains that they've spent the last few months forced to be quote-unquote comfort girls. The guard reluctantly relents and leaves. Suddenly, the pig doctor's face distorts and twists as she transforms back into Isabel. Yay! Hazel and Isabel hug. Or no, they pretend to hug, which is even cuter. That's so good. But Clara angrily says something in blue, and Isabel responds, "Missed you too, pal." Lex is terrified because Liz warned her about horrors. Isabel says, "You did not just use the H word." And finally, Lexus points out that Isabel may have saved them from a strip search, but Hazel is a time bomb. And Lexus says, "You know what that kid really is, right? How long you think we can keep something like that a secret?" That seems like a transitional bit of dialogue, but we won't find out what it transitions to.
Isabel's back.
And that's the scene, and we get Isabel first. Is this the first time where we've been, like, tricked by Isabel? The gorilla thing was a little unclear.
We were kind of tricked by her when we first met her by like the horrors, but
yeah,
no, this is a vintage Isabel switcheroo.
Yeah, I like that because 9 times out of 10 we see her turning into the thing, and so that's such a fun thing that it worked on us too.
Yeah,
I love
it. It's fantastic. I love this panel of her transitioning too, with the distorting pig's face and the magic around. It's really cool.
Yeah. It's who's that? Satoshi Kon, who does the like Perfect Blue. He's a guy that makes anime, and this is a very Satoshi Kon kind of panel, and I like it. Also, I love the design of this prison because. What else would be a prison on a winged planet or a planet controlled by the wings? It's just a prison on stilts.
Yeah,
so
I
that only
agree.
People with wings could escape or get onto it.
It's such a just like simple piece of world building that's so fun.
Yeah.
I like that as we've kind of like as we see more about the wings, we see that they are this like terrifying military power, but they're also kind of just as bumbling and incompetent as any other institution. Like there's kind of just most of the grunt soldiers don't really care that much, and like it's not this kind of like tight, super powerful ship, and you really, I don't know, you believe that these things can get by them.
Yeah, they're America.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Does that make the Horns Canada America's famous eternal rivals?
Yep. That's exactly it. So no, I like that. Also, this is Stilt Prison raised questions for me about there has to be discrimination against people like Alana who
non-flying wings. Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, no, it's again. I missed Saga. Why haven't we been talking about Saga? It's really good.
Yeah.
What's wrong with us?
Well, the world's been ending.
Oh yeah. I forgot about that.
That's been the big distraction.
Anything? Is there any? Oh, what's the blue that Clara says it is? Where the hell have you been? She yells, and then Isabel's response, "Missed you too, pal."
Does Isabel understand blue? I guess so.
I don't know why she would, but also she is an eternal wisdom
teenager
machine, so maybe she liked a band that spoke blue. Who knows?
Yeah.
Oh wait, no, that's not true, because her shirt was worn by Special Agent Gale.
Oh yeah, that's that's true. Yeah.
But
anyways,
can we just really quick? I love the fake hug. It's so cute.
It's with Hazel's hand going through through Isabel, and Isabel's arm going through. Yeah, that's some classic Fiona Staples work.
It's so nice.
I really love the shading and the color of Isabel coming back. I love Isabel.
Yeah. It's also just a really cool contrast to like being in that cement prison.
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
And it kind of perfectly captures my feelings of seeing her come back. It is just such a joyful feeling that is perfectly captured by that pink.
Yeah.
Fun stuff. It's almost like she's very like she has a very genie type role.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah. Yeah. It's her specific like shade of pink is so unique too. It really like dominates a panel when she's in it.
She even doesn't have a lower half like Genie.
Yeah.
This is spot on.
She floats around. She can change shapes like Genie.
Oh, we're getting Will Smith to play Isabel in the live action Saga.
Because he did such a great job playing the Genie in the live action Aladdin, right?
You're right. We should get Robin Williams. Let's do that.
I think. I was really hoping that I'd have a good, funny suggestion after that, but I didn't. So I think we should move to the next scene, unless you got more to say here.
Nope, we've decided on our casting.
It's neat seeing Lexus without the mask.
Oh yeah, I didn't even realize that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
We didn't even talk about that was just a cool little. A classic Hazel narration spoiling the future with the calling her Auntie Lexus.
That's true. Yeah, that's
very cool.
Yeah, that's a nice little bit of foreshadowing.
Yep. Okay, so we had the how long you think we could keep something like that secret shot of Hazel.
And we turn the page and we start on a close-up shot of the Mantis teacher's kind of uncannily terrifying smiling face as she holds a cupcake with a big 4-shaped candle on it. She says what I assume to be is happy birthday in blue, and then says, that Hazel can start next year as an explorer, and that she can leave the program and start next year as an explorer. And Hazel runs off to tell Clara, very excited. On the way, she runs into a collection of prisoners in jumpsuits, looking just like thoroughly badass. And they in a page that's almost entirely silent, actually. They point her towards the showers, or the douchage, as they're called in Blue, apparently.
Wait, who's pointing her?
Is that Lexus?
I think it is, yeah.
Yeah, that is Lexus. Yes, she's got a black eye, and she now has a mohawk. Yeah. And then we turn the page, and we come upon a full frontal nude splash page of a woman with horns that we quickly learn is Petrichor.
Yes.
Hazel notes that Petrichor has a penis, which Hazel refers to as an outie, and asks about it, and then Petrichor turns around and kind of gives an explanation of what being transgender is. She's interrupted mid-conversation, though, as Clara pulls her over, lecturing in Blue. And then we end on some transitional Hazel narration, which goes, does it just open on times I have told you to stay in your room?
It's her completing Clara's rambling, complaining.
Okay, yeah, I definitely missed that in my summary. Yeah.
Clara is saying, "What is wrong with you? How many?" And then
Times,
she continues.
Yeah, and then it transitions to Hazel narration. Okay, I didn't see that. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Times have I told you to stay in your room and not talk to strangers and eat your vegetables and blah, blah, blah. No matter how much freedom they're given, most kids are still glorified props, carefully shuttled from one secure location to the next. We're not children. We're eggs. And we end on what I think is like a really nice shot of them kind of like walking through this dark hall hand in hand.
Yeah. Also, something else.
But yeah, also...
Go ahead.
Yeah. Worth noting that when Clara comes and appears, she has all kinds of tattoos all over her body.
Yeah. The thing I love about that is they're all blue. Which
that's true. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the same shade.
She's got a sword stabbing a chili pepper.
I think that's a feather.
Oh, yes, it is. Yep. I like the chili pepper better. She has a noose going around her like elbow and forearm. She has a castle on her other forearm. She has
some chalices.
A sun like right on her chest. She looks pretty fucking badass.
Yeah. Oh, she has a face tattoo.
Yeah.
On the cheek that the ear is missing, which I forgot that she's missing an ear, but that's back from
I forgot
when
that
they
too.
landed on Quietus, so that's 12 issues ago.
This is also another interesting panel where she's kind of like popping out on the white background. There's like shower stalls behind her and then white. It really makes her stick out. We've seen Fiona Staples do that a fair bit.
Also, how satisfying it is to see like that same shade of teal blue on her tattoos and on the tiles of the shower behind her. It's cool. I like Fiona being stuck with a more muted
color palette
here.
She makes
really
it work.
Interesting.
But yeah, the big thing to talk about this scene is that we've met Petrichor. And just so you guys know, we are going to in the future talk to some trans people about their thoughts on Petrichor and how Petrichor is how Petrichor functions as representation and maybe pros and cons of her as a character. We don't have them right now, but that conversation is one that's coming, and it's really important
look forward to the between the arcs. For this. After this arc.
Yeah, I just want to say it's really important to us to include kind of like trans communities and conversations about their own representation.
Yeah, because Petrichor was pretty divisive, and I definitely want to have a. It's so interesting because for me, I was reading it and I was like, oh, Petrichor is great. I love Petrichor, like almost immediately, and it's such an interesting. I for me, it felt like very cool to see sort of, it's almost like a pinup pose that we get
I agree.
introduction to for someone who is so, with the media I consume, so rarely sexualized and portrayed as just attractive in general. And but rereading this, I can see I think that the thing that sticks out to me that can very easily lead to this not landing as intended is the fact that we are introduced to Petrichor via a child who needs explained to what a trans person is, and so it comes off as and then it's, Petrichor also, it should be pointed out, is not that fluent in language, so it comes off as this like it just sort of very almost infantile like explanation of like, oh, I am like specifically saying, and yes, in here I be girl, and pointing at her head, and just that kind of like, it almost feels like I don't even know, like one of those very special episodes of like a 90s sitcom or something, where it's like just trying to explain to children a specific just issue or subject or something like that. But it also just, it makes perfect sense for it is literally someone who does not speak language well talking to a child, and so like it makes sense contextually, but
I think with them making sense contextually, the thing to keep in mind with that is, yes, it makes sense contextually, but the author didn't need to introduce Petrichor in that context.
That's that classic argument of like what was that? There's the Metal Gear Solid lady who who wears a skimpy bikini, and there are people who are like, oh, but she needs to do that because she breathes through her skin, so it makes sense for her to do that. But it's like, also, do you need to? That's still it. She doesn't exist actually, so you can introduce her or have her function any way you want. And so it's specifically that choice, even though it makes narrative sense, that feels like it could have been pulled off a bit better.
I think another thing to keep in mind too is I totally kind of like respect, and it's really interesting because the first time I read this, I thought it was great representation, but now I understand that, okay, like, no, and even just going back and rereading, I was like, okay, there's definitely things that could have been done better here, but I think a lot of that is also just a reflection of how far the discourse has come, because this was published in November 2015, so it was probably written sometime in 2014, 2015, and really like the discourse has come a long way since there, which is, I think it's always important to keep in mind. And I don't think this means it's free from criticism. I think it's important to scrutinize things by modern standards, but it's also important to know that I think Brian K. Vaughan, kind of in a lot of his work, rereading a few months ago, I reread Why the Last Man, and it felt very similar, where it feels like there's a lot of things where it's like he's trying to be progressive given the framework that he has, but he also doesn't quite, and like, maybe this is a knock on him, like he has the resources, he has the community, like reach out to the community and talk more about kind of the best ways to approach this stuff, because it is really hairy.
Yeah, which that you just described most of Ex Machina in a nutshell too, because that's him trying to get politically progressive, and it's hit or miss. But yeah, this is at the end of the day, this is a trans character in a
Yeah.
white guy's book, and
Yeah.
it's not gonna be. It's definitely gonna trip up at points for sure.
On the good side, though, I have always thought Saga's really good at representing minority characters where that is a fact of their being, but that is not all of their being. And I think, I mean, spoiler, I guess, but we do get to know Petrichor more, and she becomes, we see that she's more than just her transness, but I do think it's not great that, like, the first thing she's introduced as is her transness first.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially if you compare it to, like, Upshur and Doff. Upshur and Doff, I think, are great representation because they're introduced as characters. It's shown that they're characters, but then they are also gay and they are oppressed by that, and they deal with those real struggles, but that's not the entirety of their existence. In this first scene, I think you leave this first scene with the thing you remember about Petrichor is she's trans, and that shouldn't be necessarily the defining characteristic.
And that's the entire conversation, and yeah, that's everything we know. Which, by the way, I feel like this is a good reason to shout out the amazing Squirrel Girl comic, Erica Henderson and Ryan North, which, Ryan North, another white guy writing a trans character, but in that, one of my favorite things was there's a character who's like a sidekick who has like the powers of a koi fish, I think, and his name's Koi Boy. And
oh my god, that's amazing.
It's fantastic. Squirrel Girl is the funniest and like one of the best comics of all time. Go read it. But I was so happy because literally just issues and issues into Koi Boy being a recurring character in the book. We see Koi Boy in one panel like changing into his uniform or his costume, and I noticed that Koi Boy was wearing a binder, and
cool.
I was like that's just like a cool little like that. It's just that's something that I'd love to see more. Is just like and that's another thing that I think is a bit of an issue here, or just like just not necessarily needed, is just like that idea of these characters exist explicitly to talk about specific issues and things they're going through, and obviously there's the like equally bad thing of pretending those issues do not exist in the real world too. But I really loved the way it was done in Squirrel Girl, and so I think this was just this might have been more like more of a fuck you, this is what we're doing in this book and get out of here if you're bigoted kind of like throw you into the deep end of it. But I feel like this scene was aimed more towards people who would be against this character rather than the people who this character is representative of.
Yeah, I think it's still really good, and I think I want to kind of like keep tabs on how Petrichor's representation gets better throughout, because I think it does the more we see of her, and I think that's something to keep in mind. But yeah, there's a lot to unpack in this specific scene, and I've seen, like you said, I've seen a lot of kind of celebrations and criticisms of it, and I think both are valid. I think it's okay for something to have imperfect representation, but the fact that it's even trying at representation is a step forward.
Yeah, and those are the opinions of just a couple of dudes.
Yeah, a cis dude, and I mean you're non-binary.
I'm non-binary, but and it's weird. Like we've talked about this before, where it's just like because some people group non-binary in as trans, but it's just like I will never know the actual experience of transitioning or anything like that. But yeah, I am very. I'm not discriminated against because I pass enough as just a normal ass dude that
Yeah.
I so rarely have to deal with anything like that, a trans woman would have to deal with.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, this is, by the way, to get into some translating here.
Some translating.
Canceled.
Possibly.
So in this conversation, Hazel says, "Is that why the other families from Reeth never invite you to Poton Sortage?" Which, what do you think that is?
I have no idea on this one. I don't even have a guess.
It's potluck.
Oh, okay.
So she's not invited to prison potluck. Also, one thing I thought was interesting was that when we see Lexus earlier, the group that she's in with is seems to be all just like normal humans or whatever this galaxy's version of that is. And so we're seeing kind of the dynamics and the cliques of this prison a bit.
Yeah.
Oh, and then just to tell you how tell you Clara's position, no fucking surprise here. But Clara, when we first see her, tells Hazel, get away from it. And so there's the state of being trans and also a Mooney.
Yep. And then on that, do you wanna bring us home to splash number 3?
Let's bring us home to
and splash number 4?
Yes. So what was the we left off on the
We're not children, we're eggs.
Hazel transitional narration, or the transitional narration. We're not children, we're eggs, but sooner or later those eggs begin to crack, and we're finally back to that opening scene of the issue as Hazel's crying at the sight of the Leave Me Be book. She asked the teacher, do we know the teacher's name at this point?
We don't. I've been calling her Mrs. Mantis Teacher Lady, so.
Okay. So she asked the teacher what she thinks about the wings, and the teacher says, they're just people, I suppose, like any group. Most of them are pretty okay. They usually pay me on time, at least. And Hazel says, that's good, as she sets down the book and starts taking off her shirt. The teacher is very confused as Hazel explains that she doesn't remember much about her parents, which makes me really sad. But she remembers exactly how her dad smells and that her mother was a real bad singer and also gave her that book when she was little, which is why she was crying. Hazel starts unraveling, speaking of a binder, Hazel starts unraveling a sort of makeshift gauze binder that's around her chest to reveal our first splash page, 4 like large dark green feathered wings. And in reference to her mom, she says she also gave me these.
We've seen they look like when she was a baby, we saw her little baby wings when she was masquerading as as something or another. I remember seeing her wings.
These are some sizable wings though. They go down like top of her head to like her waist.
And it's cool because they're like, it's if you go back and look at her baby wings, it's easy to see how they like grow into this. Like they look like very small versions of this. I love her wings. I think her wings are some of my favorites I've seen in the series so far.
And just to wrap up the scene really quick, the teacher tries to stay calm, but then faints and smashes her head against the corner of a table. And then we end on Hazel saying, "Oh fart," as she stands over the unconscious teacher, and a pool of blood gathers around her head.
Oh fart, indeed.
Oh fart. But yeah, no. The thing about the wings that I really like, which is also a little confusing, but is still really nice, it's that it's the color of her mother's hair are her wings.
Oh yeah, that's true.
It's that black and green kind of look.
That's very true.
Which I'm pretty sure is canonically like dyed hair, right? Or is it? I know she went through her punk phase, but also she's been like out on the run and stuff, and is she still dyeing her hair? That doesn't make sense either.
I don't know how Landfallian genetics work.
Yeah, no, I think I'm gonna say that's just her hair color, and we'll leave it at that. Because then this is very cute and nice.
Yeah.
Also, can I just point out, also in the next to last page, the top panel, it really struck me just how much I love the character design for this mantis teacher, and specifically her nose is like,
her
this
nose
weird,
is really
like,
cool.
it's like a diamond at the bottom of like this pointed thing, and it's and then like these two arches, and it's very geometrical, and so cool.
That panel I love because it looks like a dolly zoom. It looks like a dolly zoom in a panel.
Yeah. Especially since like sort of her features in general play so well into having a, like, you know, super wide angle lens that kind of distorts the
like she's got the
effect.
very flat face.
No, that's, I love the design so much.
Yeah, her character design is really, really cool. It's really interesting too. I actually love it when she's unconscious on the floor with her like kind of like mantis legs curling up. Okay.
Oh God.
Okay, John. We get it.
Put your AO3 shit away.
That's enough of that.
This is just, I love how which, you know, another thing that where what we got from the last scene makes a bit more sense, but again could have been done a bit more organically, is the fact that Hazel points out that the people running the prison at least must be a little bit progressive if they put a trans woman in with other women. Which, you know, is still a stupidly debated thing today.
Yeah.
But so I like how that kind of sets up her relation to Petrichor of you know, having parts that she is told that she shouldn't have. And that feeling of, oh, I can sort of reveal my wings to the teacher because they're more progressive than I thought and more understanding than I thought. And so I like how that at least served some sort of purpose to the story a bit. Rather than just like,
I agree.
Rather than just like, look how progressive we are. Give us a medal, please.
Yeah, and that's the issue. It's a very I don't know, like kind of slow moving issue, but I think it's always interesting when we get a time jump. I think when we get a time jump, there's a lot of playing catch up in the first few issues, and this is very much just kind of playing catch up on Hazel and Clara and where they're at.
Which, you know what? In a way, this is our first Hazel issue, which is really cool.
Yeah,
like we always get those, and again, because they've done this before, where it's like we have all these cliffhangers, like the Will's back, and Prince Robot has his kid again, and Marco and Alana are together, and all these things are happening. And then it's just like, now we're going to jump forward, and now we are not going to tell you for a whole issue what happened with any of that. We're going to talk about totally different stuff. And I like when they do that. It's like it's again just like you know, we are telling the story we want to tell. We are not going to be put into a box. But it is interesting that we got that sort of flashback, because we generally don't get that too often. I guess with the because there is a sort of time jump leading into, what was it, volume 2 or volume 3, where it's like it turns out they were on quietus for a week. That reveal after the Prince Robot V heist scene. And then we flash back from there. But this is an interesting thing. I like again, it's really cool just to see, especially I really liked her like sort of running through the prison and stuff and showing
Yeah.
the dynamics of her life here.
Yeah, there's some cool world building here.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's also it's really neat the way that they're kind of like other than I guess they don't really like flash far forward, but it seems like Brian K. Vaughan is really willing to just like kind of jump around time as he needs to serve the story, but not necessarily in a non-linear way. Like it still progresses forward continually. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I like the way that it's like there are sometimes you get trends of flashbacks or things like that, but it's not like it's like a set thing, or it's not like there's like a specific color grading or anything when they flash back. It's just kind of like part of the story as it's told. I think it's I think he really does a good job of dealing with time, and I think his time jumps are always really, really interesting and do a good job of kind of like setting you up in a new place, and just like finding the time jump just lets you explore the universe so much more. It lets you explore characterization so much more because the characters are growing and changing. It's a really, really useful technique in telling such a grand story, I think.
Yeah, and I'm always so impressed when people when writers know that they can that they don't need to tell you something and you'll get it.
Yes.
Because that's always so hard to know, especially when you are the writer who has all of the information in your head, and it's so hard to keep track of what exposition you need and what you don't need. It reminds me of, I was watching an interview between Christopher Nolan and George Lucas the other day, and Christopher Nolan brought up something that never even occurred to me, and it was, he asked George Lucas, how did you know that throwing people into this world for the first time, how did you know that some people or people would understand that C-3PO is a droid and stormtroopers are human and Darth Vader is like part human, part robot, and when in reality it's all just dudes in suits.
That's so true. Yeah.
Covered entirely. And it was like, how do you know that? And I'm so impressed when, like, you know, just knowing the exact amount of information, like, you know, it's like, okay, we know Darth Vader is part robot because he has a breathing apparatus, and you don't need to breathe if you're a robot. And it's really, it's interesting the ways that kind of stuff is explained.
I really like any creator that trusts their audience.
Yeah.
Like I think that's something that I've always been really fond of and really drawn to, is creators that are just like, okay, like audiences are smart, they're attentive, they'll pick up on stuff. Audiences like having stuff to pick up on. Like we don't want to be told everything. So it's really great when you see a creator that's really willing to kind of like take that sentiment to heart.
Yeah. And it also, you know, and then again, that's still such a tricky line to walk, because it's like, literally there have been 2 movies ever that I watched them, I paid full attention to them, and by the end of them, I had no idea what happened. And the first
Primer?
one was I understood Primer, so that's a good reference point of like, I have a high capacity for comprehending films. The Fountain. Which,
that was gonna be my next guess.
To be fair, I was in the theaters, like I was like 13 or 14 when I saw that, and it was like I have no idea what's going on here. And then Fantastic Beasts 2: The Crimes of Grindelwald was a movie that I watched and paid attention to and tried so hard to follow, and I rewound it multiple times and could not get what was happening in that film. And it was this thing of just like there is such a thing as trusting the audience too much, to the point of just you not having to do your own job as a storyteller and giving people information they need. And it just, it's so interesting to see like how tricky that is and how quickly that can go wrong. But yeah, this is Saga does it fantastically. It is so rare. Like the only time we really get excess exposition is these like beginning of the beginning of the arcs where we get sort of refreshers occasionally on how people, which I feel like this is kind of secretly issue 25 again, where we're getting a flashback to show us how we got to this exact point. But he does this in such, I feel like this is the most successful version of that, because it brings you back up to speed on, it's essentially a recap through showing us an entirely new scene.
That's true, yeah.
And we're reintroduced to Isabel and what Isabel can do. We understand Clara's relation to Hazel and the situation with Lexus and everything, and like where we are, like how we got here. Like it is essentially a one of those recap flashbacks, but it is the most perfectly integrated one we've seen so far, which is very cool.
Yeah. Yeah, great issue. Do we have
last thing? Oh,
yeah,
no, I just wanted to point out last thing in case anyone didn't know. Do you know the definition of the word petrichor? Because that's an actual word.
Oh, I do not.
Oh, petrichor is a pleasant smell that frequently accompanies the first rain after a long period of warm, dry weather.
Huh, I know that smell. That's really cool.
Yeah, and that's kind of how I feel finally getting back to this book. Reading again, it's just that nice, like we've had the shitty long period of warm, dry weather, and now it's that nice, pleasant rain smell again of getting back into Saga.
It feels really good to dive back in and just be able to pick it up and get going and oh boy, we're just getting started on this arc. This arc, I am so fired up for next issue. I won't say anything else, but
I will say next issue is my favorite issue of Saga. So hype it up too, bud.
Which is why you're actually not gonna be. I'm gonna be bringing in Ben to replace you next episode.
Yeah. I don't need to spoil it with this garbage. You're doing me a favor. So what's your favorite moment?
I think, I mean, even with everything, I love Petrichor as a character. I think her character design is so cool. I think I just think she's really fucking cool, and so even with everything, just the fact that we get Petrichor. And we're living in Petrichor world now. That's my favorite moment.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. I'm so excited that Petrichor is in this now. And I mean, I gotta go with, oof. Actually, I don't know. I love the Isabel reveal. Like I was so pumped, even rereading it. It surprised me. Like I forgot that she was the pig doctor. So I really like that, but I gotta go with directly after that the fake hug.
Yeah, that's great. Moment. That's very fair.
Music. What do we got?
All right. So you know how Isabel is the pig doctor, and you know how Hazel shows her wings.
Uh-huh.
We're going to go with Pigs on the Wing by Pink Floyd.
Remember the one time where I was like, Pink Floyd's the most no thing I could choose, and you're like, I don't know if I've ever picked Pink Floyd. There are at least 5 Pink Floyd songs on this fucking playlist at this point.
The thing is, I don't even remember that. When you said remember you saying that.
That adds up. Anytime you question me on continuity of this podcast, assume you're stupid. At all times.
No, even before, I'm just going in assuming I'm stupid at all times. You don't need the anytime before. Like, that's just an unconditional thing at this point. It's improved my life drastically.
As Socrates said, I am the wisest man because I assume I'm stupid at all times.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna go with Folsom Prison Blues.
That's why I'm still alive.
I'm going with Folsom Prison, the Johnny Cash.
Yeah, sure.
We get some
shot a man in Reno just to watch him die.
Yep, just like the pig doctor. That's my canonical headcanon for canonical headcanon. So of course, what I like to think of as the synthwave version of Folsom Prison Blues is this theme song.
Okay.
Spot on.
Yeah, I would definitely describe that as synthwave Folsom Prison Blues. Can we make a synthwave Folsom Prison Blues cover?
Don't make more work for Haley. Hashtag don't make more work for Haley.
Let's make a cyberpunk Folsom Prison Blues. That'd be fun.
You know, I know that guy who did all the synth covers of LCD Sound System that I used in my Ryan Johnson video. So let's get in touch with him and waste his fucking time for no reason. It's perfect. Oh god, I just realized like there has to be like house remixes of that shit or like dubstep or some garbage.
Let me do a quick Google and see what I can find.
This is my question of the week. And that is what is the worst remix? Not a cover. We're not shaming anyone for covering. What is the worst? But we won't shame people for
remixed it.
What is the worst remix of or sampling or whatever of Folsom Prison Blues that you could find? Is that a question? That is a question.
Yeah. Okay. My question is going to be, what do you think about the representation of petrichor?
Here we go. Let's get everyone canceled and hated in our comment section. Go ahead and by the way, just a quick reminder to people that you don't have to answer all of the questions. If you're just in the mood for sharing a shitty like club mix from 2002 of Johnny Cash, but don't want to weigh in on the experiences of people that you could never fully understand yourself, then feel free to just skip part B on this questionnaire. But otherwise, but also this is a safe space.
Yeah,
just come from a place of understanding and of just your own personal. We understand that it's your own personal experience that you're speaking from. Just like we are. We are not speaking for anyone else, and we're not saying anyone is wrong or right about this. We're just saying how we read it.
If you are trans, I would be especially interested, but also again, no pressure. You don't need to you don't owe sharing your experience with anyone. But yeah. I am just like as someone who is cis, I am really genuinely curious to hear what trans communities think about petrichor as a character, because also I really fucking love petrichor. Yeah. Anything else? Where can we find us?
Let's what do I have to signal boost
to plug?
This point? The Patreon. Here's an idea. I have a cool short story. It won't be out yet, but I have a short story coming out on the Patreon that's pretty cool. So look forward to that, I guess. Also, I do videos and junk.
Do you?
Oh my god! If you are on the Patreon at the dollar level,
do you do videos?
Yeah. Because this is what I'm about to boost. If you're on the Patreon at the $1 level, go check out Noah and I playing Hearthstone Battlegrounds last.
Oh yeah,
our last bout of that was dramatic and emotional.
Yeah,
and just a real. It was. I think the plot of Rocky 3. I think we went through Rocky 3. So it's that good.
It was really, really fun.
Which we all know you're the Thunder Lips played by Hulk Hogan of this Rocky 3 scenario.
I've never seen any Rocky movie, not even Creed.
Disgusting. Oh, Creed's the best.
I've heard Creed's the best. I'd also just watch. I want to watch Creed because I'll also just watch Michael B. Jordan for hours on end. I have no issue with that.
I get angry at how good Creed is. It is so good.
We won't get into this. Is not about to turn into us talking about Creed.
Next week on the podcast, let's take a break from this saga shit and really dive into Creed.
Yeah, it's been enough now. We got to, if we keep going at this pace, we might have new content to take when we catch up.
There we go. No, where can people find you?
I don't know. YouTube, Instagram, Twitter.
Awesome.
I'm not very important. Watch my stuff, but watch like better, smaller creators too.
You fucked up. This was the one where you were about to get just a massive fucking torrential following.
I don't want that. I do not want that. I really
Literally
don't. Actually, if you're listening to this, please unsubscribe from my channel.
No joke, because my Hamilton video took off again once Hamilton came out on Disney Plus.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, I hate this. I just remember, like, I actually hate getting, like, all these comments and shit. Like, it's too much, and I'm tired of it. And so, yeah, no one follow any of us. Leave us alone.
Yeah.
Let us read Saga. Big thank you to Fiona Staples and Brian K. Vaughan and Phonographics and Image Comics for making just the best dang comic just ever. And it is the leave me be of our galaxy, I'd say.
And that every time you open it, you begin to cry and flash back.
That's exactly it. Noah, how are we leaving this one off?
I think we're gonna leave this with a good old fashioned oh fart.
Nice. Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye.
Bye. There we go.
Bye.
Oh, no. Good on that.